Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Patty Giarrusso, and this is Let's Talk Pets on Society Bites Radio. Today, we welcome back to the show Sue Taney from Lost Dogs of America. She's the co-founder of Lost Dogs of America, and she's also the director and founder of Lost Dogs of Illinois, and co-founder of Lost Dogs of Wisconsin as well. And Sue has managed and worked and volunteered in animal shelters and rescues in both the Midwest and the East Coast for many years. And she also belonged to the Massachusetts Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and she co-founded Bones, which was Beagles of New England states. Sue's an expert on lost dog recovery and procedures to help owners and finders of lost pets to get them home safe. And I know she's a true advocate for change to help lost pets. And so we wanted to talk with her today so she can tell us about some of the projects she's worked on with her local animal care and control in Chicago, and how she's made a difference, and what maybe she could suggest to anyone listening that might help them in their communities with our local shelters. So welcome to the show, Sue. I'm glad to have you back.
Well, thank you for having me, Patty.
Yeah. So you were saying to me that you looked back and you realized that a lot of things have changed for the better. So I'd like you to talk to us about, what you've done to help the lost pets and, through your animal control there in Chicago, and maybe some of the things you've done would help others in their local communities.
Sure. What I can do is we've been in existence for almost 10 years, and about 9 years ago, we set up a meeting with the now management staff, and we brought in a list of things that we felt would help them increase return to owner rates. And we actually talked about the shelters actually have two windows of opportunity to help people find their lost dogs. And that's when a person who had lost a pet comes in, they can be offered helpful advice, can post on a bulletin board, or place reports in binders. And the other one is when owned strays are impounded, staff and volunteers can try to determine who they belong to. So we gave a list that could help increase their return to owner rates and also reduce euthanasia. And what we also do is we really try to talk about this really promotes goodwill, positive press when an animal control agency or a stray holding facility takes on a proactive approach to reuniting lost dogs with their families. So some of the things that we did that shortly after we first met with the management staff, and let me tell you, in the last 10 years, there's been 5 different directors, and wow. I have met with each one of them. Every time we get a changeover, I make an appointment. So we actually, Kathy, who lives in Wisconsin, and I live in Harvard, which is about an hour and a half from Chicago, we came in for one of their clinics. And their clinic started at 8:30 in the morning. And what we did is we offered free ID tags. And it was really, people really wanted to have an ID tag. And what we did is we made the ID tags, and then we put them on the dogs' collars. So we had approximately 100 dogs leave the facility with ID tags. Wow. And what we did is then we encouraged CACC to really look into this. And this would be great to have every reclaimed dog and every adopted dog to have an ID tag. And what happened was Friends of Chicago Care and Animal Control actually bought their first machine. And then because they go to clinics once a month, they Realtors to the Rescue for Homeless Animals in Chicago actually bought them the next machine. So when they went to clinics, the dogs that were, or cats that were attending would get ID tags. So that's one thing we talked about, and they did. Another thing was redemption fees. We really felt it was important to either negotiate or reduce those redemption fees, and the next director did that. She actually did a flat fee of $65. Mm. And what we also did, if a dog is listed on our page and ends up in Chicago Animal Care and Control, this is the same for any shelter in the state of Illinois. And if the person's unable to pay for the redemption fee, they will contact us, and then we'll say, well, we'll pay for it, or if possible, can they put anything towards that redemption fee, and we will pay the rest. So they did reduce the redemption fees, and then we started working with them, helping pay. Because sometimes, $65 is someone's grocery bill when they're on paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
We also, the next director, what we also did was we got them to start using Helping Lost Pets as a centralized database. And that's who we use, Lost Dogs Illinois. And so all their dogs that are posted on Pet Harbor go directly onto our Helping Lost Pets, where we have listed all our Good Samaritan lost dogs, vet clinics, police departments, and any lost dog that has been entered into our database. So it becomes a centralized database so people can sort, can compare, so it's all in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And Helping Lost Pets actually puts in the intersection, so that is an added feature, because on Pet Harbor they do not put down the intersection.
Right.
Now, what we also did, we talked about, and they did try to implement this, when an animal control officer picks up a lost or a found dog, they were putting a sign with one of these plastic stakes. But unfortunately, what happened was that the kids started pulling out the plastic sticks and using them as swords.
Oh, jeez.
So, so the aldermen kind of put a kibosh to that. But I kind of look at it this way, always try something different. Maybe they could just, hang the sign on a fence, or, have one of those plastic sleeves, put the flyer in, or something like that. But hopefully they'll reinstate that program. They also, we really encourage them to look at what chip manufacturer they were purchasing their chips from. And now all their dogs and cats, when they're microchipped, they are registered at the time of implant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also free changes, life changes. So they've been able to do that, which is a completely different concept. Before, they would just hand the chip over, and the owner had to, or the person when they reclaimed their dog had to, complete the registration. They also started doing, one thing we suggested was return to owner in the field. And now they have implemented that. We also started microchip help, or hunters, and we really it's become a real collaborative effort. They are able to process the research of the microchip to a certain point, and then they turn that over to our volunteer group. And we've had about a 66% success rate on finding out dead end chips. And what happened was that, they have located friends of owners, relatives, owners all over the world. They just get on it, and they're not going to stop until it's actually a dead end.
Yep.
And when I say a 66% success rate, it's also when a person's, the dog, we find the owner and the dog says, I really need to relinquish that dog. So we tell CACC this is what needs to be done. And then they're able to put that dog up for adoption and or rescue sooner than waiting for the 7 days. So Chicago has a 3-day stray hold if it does not have an ID, microchip, or a tattoo. And if it does, it has to remain at the facility for 7 days. And it's always a work in progress with us. I think sometimes they they get a little on edge when I call or I make a phone call, because I always have suggestions.
I know
right
what
now
that's
we're trying.
about.
Yeah. And and I told him, I said, you don't have to like me, but, I'm really here for the owners, and I'm here to try to make their life a little simpler. Because if we can get those animals home, that's less work that they have to do.
Well, not to mention it's less money. It's less of a tax burden,
Right,
and that's
right.
something I try to hit home. It costs the county less money. You're not housing a pet that doesn't need to be there,
Right, right.
And that's what we do, like basically 24/7, 365. I mean, that's why we're here. So use us,
Yeah, exactly. And now we're collaborating with, they've introduced Lost 312, and it's a texting service that, yeah. And we got a little hiccups with it because basically when it was rolled out, a lot of people thought it was going to compete with us. And it's not competing with us. It is actually enhancing what we have. Because if someone can text 312, and then it comes up and says that you could file a report with Lost Dogs Illinois, and it goes through, and then they keep texting different hints, and that throughout the period that their dog is lost.
Is that through your county, or is that a program that you guys do?
It's from Chicago. And it was a animal welfare. Well, actually, it was Fetching Tails Foundation. Contacted CACC about this program, and that program was implemented. And but it's been a confusing introduction, and so I am going to try to see if we can somehow straighten it out and make it a little bit clearer on how people can use it and how it can benefit them, and it also enhances our services too. We think that we've talked to them about having a dedicated email address for lost and found pets, but I think I have to understand this is a government run by the government. We want to, we'd like to see a volunteer pet detective or lost pet recovery team be established that can, when people come in, they can talk to them about, well, this is what you need to do. If you get on Lost Dogs Illinois, this is, here are the steps, or they have a computer there and sit there and say, well, here, let me help you. Let's fill out this lost dog report. Also, I forgot to say that they have a kiosk in there, because I had wanted them to get a large screen TV that they could put in their lobby, and then, found dogs to be scrolling the whole time. Because for a lot of people, it's very distressing to go into that shelter to look for your found dog. Yeah. So instead what they did is put in a kiosk, and it has all the pet harbor dogs. So a person can go through the list and not have to go back into the kennel.
Yeah. It is stressful and sad. It's hard for people to do it,
Right. And then we've also talked to them that we'd like to see, expand their tours for stray wards. They actually have certain times. And, that's really hard for people that, sometimes they just can't get off work.
Yeah.
You can't take a dog on a bus or a cat. We've tried to encourage that. Maybe, and I look at it this way: it's a work in progress, and hopefully, they'll add these changes that we've been suggesting. But when I really look back, I'm really kind of pleased. I feel like, we have been an important part to increase their